Record high gas prices usually crush consumer spending, right? But Costco somehow just turned pain at the pump into their absolute best customer acquisition tool of the quarter. Welcome to Earnings Unscripted. It is May 28th, 2026, and today we are looking at Costco, ticker COST, for their fiscal third quarter. And Miro, I feel like this report is just them showing off.
Showing off that is definitely one way to put it. Look, people were so desperate for cheap fuel, they just gave in and bought memberships strictly to access the pumps. Total revenue hit $70.53 billion, which is up 1.3% from Q2.
And before we get completely lost in the wholesale numbers, just a quick reminder that this podcast is not financial advice, just our personal opinions. So please do not go buying stocks or pallets of mayonnaise based on our banter.
Leave the bulk buying to the professionals. But honestly, the operational efficiency here is almost aggressive. Net income reached $2.19 billion. Diluted earnings came in at $4.93 a share. That is up over 7% quarter over quarter. And they actually pushed operating margins up to 3.99%.
Exactly. 4% sounds tiny to anyone outside retail, but for Costco, that is a massive flex. But the market did not the tape looked kind of confused today. The stock gapped up over $1,000 at the open, hitting 10.11 or so, but then it completely faded.
Right. It faded pretty hard. It closed down roughly 0.7% for the regular session, finishing around 995, and then it basically flatlined after hours. I think the core issue is that Wall Street always wants wider margins, but Costco is actively weaponizing their profitability to lower prices. Actually, sorry, it's even wilder than that.
Wait, weaponizing? You mean the tariff refund thing? Because I saw that and it is wild.
Yeah, the federal tariff refunds from U.S. Customs. Any normal retailer gets an unexpected government refund, and they drop it straight to the bottom line to pad their earnings. Costco is doing the exact opposite. Management stated point blank they are funneling those refunds directly into price cuts on the warehouse floor. They'd rather squeeze their competitors and build lifetime loyalty than give Wall Street a short-term margin bump. It's a completely different control system.
That is so cutthroat. They're literally using federal refunds as a bludgeon.
Well, it works. But underneath all that physical warehouse dominance, they quietly launched a new ad network. They partnered with Google Commerce Media and YouTube to build out retail media, which, from an engineering perspective, is a massive pivot. Selling ads operates on software margins, not wholesale margins. It introduces an entirely new, incredibly high-margin, recurring revenue stream.
Okay, yes, the advertising angle is completely new for them. Plus, we absolutely have to talk about how those GLP-1 weight loss drugs are literally reshaping their food aisles. All right, let's get into the details.
Yeah, the pharmacy side is fascinating right now. They saw a 20% jump in comps there, mostly off the back of those GLP-1 medications like Wegovy and Ozempic.
And you know the big narrative. Everyone assumed these weight loss drugs would just absolutely murder traditional grocery volumes.
Right, except Costco did not just sit around waiting for their bakery numbers to tank. They actually leaned right into it.
Which is surprising because they are so, rigid with their inventory.
Normally they are. But they rapidly partnered with big consumer brands to scale up these totally new protein-centric lines. We are talking massive pallets of specialized protein milks, new Kirkland Signature beef sticks. They literally followed the macro diet shift in real time.
That is actually a really good example of why their buying power is so terrifying to competitors. They can just force suppliers to pivot an entire category on a dime.
Terrifying is probably the right word. But if you want to talk about them suddenly becoming agile, we really need to look at what happened with their digital sales.
Oh, you mean the 21% e-commerce jump?
Specifically, how they got it. Because Costco and artificial intelligence are two things you do not usually put in the same sentence. But they integrated these new AI-powered search carousels, and it completely changed their conversion math. Gary Millerchip, the CFO, had this quote where he said, "Our personalized product recommendation carousels delivered conversion rates 3 times better than our typical and contributed just under $500 million of e-commerce sales."
Wait, stop. 3 times better? Like a 300% jump in conversion just because of a recommendation carousel? I mean, how bad was their old search engine?
Well, pretty archaic, But it's not just making the search prettier. The actual logic behind it was fundamentally broken before.
Broken how?
Look, think about how people buy a refrigerator online. You compare the raw price at Best Buy versus Costco. In the old system, Costco just looked like another retailer. What the new AI integration does is surface their bundle logistics.
Oh, so like the installation fees.
Exactly.
Oh.
Installation, hauling away the old appliance, all those invisible perks that Costco includes in the price. The AI finally unpacks that all-in pricing so it can accurately compare value across the web. That's why conversions exploded. The algorithm finally understands the Costco business model.
That makes so much sense. I mean, you go to the website for paper towels and you end up getting a hyper-specific, perfectly priced suggestion for a dishwasher.
Yeah, though there is a structural friction point.
There always is with you.
I'm just reading the data. But look, all this new digital engagement is bringing in a massive wave of online signups, right? But management actually flagged that these digitally acquired members renew at a slightly lower baseline rate than their typical walk-in shoppers.
Ah, because they're chasing the promotion, not necessarily the warehouse lifestyle.
Precisely. Overall, worldwide renewals are capped around 89.7% right now, and they admitted this digital surge is putting downward pressure on that metric. It's a tiny dilution, but for a company that relies entirely on a near-perfect retention loop, you have to watch that metric closely.
So you speed up digital growth, but you might be lowering the long-term lifetime value of those specific members. That is a really delicate balance, which actually makes me wonder, so where does this leave them heading into next quarter?
It leaves them leaning heavily into physical expansion. They want to anchor that digital churn we just talked about with actual concrete. They're setting up roughly $6.5 billion in CapEx for the year, although there is a tiny speed bump on that front.
A speed bump? What, did they run out of rotisserie chicken heat lamps?
Basically, CEO Ron Vatras mentioned they're tweaking the store pipeline. He said, quote, "We currently expect to have 26 net new openings in fiscal year 2026, down 2 buildings from the prior call," unquote. They pushed those 2 into next year.
Okay, so delaying a couple of massive boxes, that is hardly a crisis, but I guess it shows they're not totally immune to, real-world friction.
Right. And they're feeling friction in the supply chain, too. Management explicitly warned about non-food inflation creeping back. Resin costs are climbing, which hits plastics. And memory chips are getting pricey again, which is going to squeeze margins on electronics.
Which is exactly the category where that new AI search just tripled their online conversion. So wait, I'm just putting this together. They take a margin hit selling you a laptop, but they completely offset it by selling ad space to the laptop maker through their new Google partnership.
Precisely. The ad network profits subsidize the electronics, and the cheap gas subsidizes the food. It's a fundamentally brilliant structural hedge.
Really is. When you step back and look at the whole picture, they're a retail media company, an algorithmic optimization engine, and a massive pharmacy, all just wearing a giant bulk warehouse as a disguise.
A disguise that's projected to generate nearly $300 billion in revenue this year. The math just does not break.
It really does not. All right, I think that perfectly sums up the Costco flywheel for this quarter. Try not to buy a massage chair on your way out unless you actually need one, everyone.
If you want these earnings drops to just magically appear for you, go ahead and follow the show. And just as a quick transparency thing, we do use AI to help us speed read through all those massive filings, but the actual takeaways are all ours. So if there is a specific ticker you want us to dig into next, just shoot an email to earningsunscripted@datamadness.ca or hit up the X link in the show notes.
See you after the next bell.